And when I was traveling the bus back home, I saw behind another bus this verse from the Bible. It shocked me. How could it be? So after that I searched for that bus, but till date I can never spot that bus. And the Bible verse written on that bus, behind that bus, was, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." I was shocked. This most wonderful verse from Bible, because it's Jesus speaking. And he's saying, "Come unto me, learn of me, I'm meek and lowly, and you'll find rest in your souls." Oh, that was the answer I was looking for as I shouldered this responsibility in the college, which no other lecturer wanted. And I'm new to this world, new to the post, new to everything, to the way it works. And I found the answer. Just being meek. Lord was saying, be meek and mild. Learn from me, and I'll show you the way out. And so, before people could take advantage, in misleading me, distracting me, God, it was already 3 years over. So I was put into the examination committee. So I was involved in laying out the timetable for the exams, right from the first monthly test to the end, to the last test of the year that they would have. So we would have a lot of work from scratch, arranging tables, writing the numbers of the register number of the students, even for small exams. So it was a challenging work. And then I was also in the cultural committee for the next year. So it kept changing. The cultural committee, we had the college day celebrations where they have to arrange for everything, the chief guest, and lay out all that. And then of course the main thing was awarding the alumni, the ex-students who had fared well in the college. So I was in charge of that, and I'd try and put some verse of the Bible, and that verse which I put was for the students: pride goes before a fall, but before honor is humility. Now that's from Proverbs, and just that verse, and then the prize distribution would go on. Well, I could say there were people who didn't appreciate that kind of approach. Maybe because they thought I was trying to convert people, that kind of. But that was my zeal for God. I just wanted to be there for my students, to show them the way to life, because I experienced the same in my life. So I'd run into trouble with other lecturers, and they would sneak behind my back and report to the principal. And finally, I got a show cause notice. I had to answer before 10 days. Otherwise it would be a legal thing. For all that I was talking about in the classes about Bible or God. So that they were up against me because they thought I should not speak all that. And then what could I do? I just wept. I didn't tell my parents. All that was happening in my life, I didn't want to tell my parents because I knew they were already burdened and they had done their best to me. And it was my turn. My responsibility to run my life with faith. So I never bothered them. I just kept the show cause notice on my table. And I was praying, and then strangely, a colleague of mine, she somehow came to know, and it seems she showed it to her husband. And he, Zechariah by name, he decided in prayers with tears to write defense. And he said, from my experience, don't go the legal way, Jane, just appeal. And this beautiful letter written out, it said, this is my work to share in the problems of my students, to raise them up, and it's nothing to do with their changing their religion. It's all to do with Christ, who gives new life through the blood of his cross. And as the letter was being typed by a person outside, a layman in the Xerox shop, I started noticing something. At the end of the letter, he's typing a cross. I was wondering what he's doing. And then I saw the hand of God through a lame person, an ordinary man working hard day and night. He was able to understand the contents of the letter, and he was putting the seal of heaven on it, the cross. And it came with the full force of God, defending my work in my college, to take risks for my children, see that no student dies in desperation, out of suicide or whatever. I would risk my life for them, for their well-being, for their future. So that cross, it came through, and I made Xerox copies and kept one for myself, and then a reference, 2 copies for myself, and I gave the original to my college, and then and also Xerox copies of the same. They were just astounded. They were all fanatics, in the management also, fanatics, who you had a wrong impression about Christianity, and also among the staff, the teaching staff, and then they were silenced. Maybe God touched them through that letter. There was nothing, no legalities involved. They accepted me as I am. And I'm happy to say that in the year 1999, they gave me a no objection certificate to go and visit my brother and come back. But there's a hurdle of the visa, of course. So I went armed, and the consulate at the visa's office, that's a final test. People had warned me that it's going to be very, very horrible, in the sense they'll ask you very embarrassing questions, especially if you're a virgin. They'll ask you horrible questions and break you down. So I was just going in the name of the Lord, and something, he just asked me one question. He said, he had all the facts before him. So you're going to visit your brother? And I nodded my head, and he looked up and he asked, what's your brother doing? And I just had to reply one sentence. I said, he's in the Lord's ministry, he's in the Lord's work. That's it. The visa was stamped, and I got free entry to US. Now that, I don't believe it's my doing. It's all God's doing, because it's not easy to enter US, especially when you're unmarried. Okay, I had a job and they wanted me back. They'd given me no objection certificate, 3 months leave. Yet I could go get married there and settle. So that's the threat. That's why they won't give you the visa. They don't want you to populate their country. It's white supremacy, and of course it's their country. And anyway, when I went for 3 months, it was the joy of my life. I spent heavenly time with my little nephews, and it was awesome. To such an extent, the 3 months became 6 months. And I just was lost in this world of children, teaching them, loving them, caring for them, and help. I wasn't able to cook or anything for my sister-in-law, but she was so good, happy. They took me around the places, Dallas, Austin, Texas, everywhere, and I enjoyed the churches there. Anyway, it was a great time, and when I returned, it was time to return. I could see my elder nephew, the first nephew, 5-year-old almost, with tears. His face was red and his eyes filled with tears. He had no words to say. He could not even wave. And I hugged my sister-in-law, who was holding the little one, 2.5 years old. And the little one I wasn't able to pull away from them. And I realized what was happening. And it was the little one holding me tight around my neck. And that was so way. And I never cried like that. And when I came back, I was crying. But I went back to my college. I don't know why. But somehow I had to get into MPhil, I don't know. And then it was time for me in 2001. I was given 1 year's leave to do my MPhil. It was then that my mother, I used it to take care of my mother. My mother, she met with a horrible accident that paralyzed her. Because it was a pelvic injury, and she had also collarbone and wrist fracture, and it was like nothing I'd faced ever before. And my mama always never let me go into the kitchen. She was always in charge of the kitchen. But this time I took care of my mother with God's help, day and night, and that pan and all that. But cooking, I cooked good meals for her. Chicken every day, because she needed protein. And she would weep and say, oh, but I said, no, Mama, don't worry, you will be all right, you'll be all right. And it was at that time my Sunday school child, Suma, came with a little niece, Terry. And the little one prayed for my mother. And that was a touching moment, because little one's prayers matter. And my dad clicked a photo of the little Terry, and then the pelvic fracture just healed by itself. I don't know how. I just don't know how. And every moment I cared for her. So she was perfectly all right by the end of the term. In no time she was all right, up and about. And what I wondered about was the way she went back to work, cooking, cleaning, her usual self, which is a real miracle. I can never begin to understand. Then it was time for me to go to Hyderabad to do my research work, continue my. I thought that will be the place where I can completely complete my work and write my thesis. So, and it was always on Jesus, of course. This I had in my mind, Jesus. I have to bring Jesus somehow into my thesis. Jesus. And at that time was running out. It was March 7th, 2002. And I decided to go back, because March 31st it's due. My thesis is due. I'll go back and do some work, something I'll scribble, and I'll complete my thesis. My two texts were Arundhati Roy's God of Small Things and its size Crooked Line. One Indian writer, lady, woman writer, and the other the Pakistani writer. I wanted to bridge the gap, bring in unity, Hindu-Muslim unity, through the truth. Well, it couldn't happen. I believe. But I somehow want to do it, go back to my work. I never thought my job will be the end of my life. But that's what's about to happen now. I didn't realize it. So March 7th, I also got set up to go when my student, Suma, suddenly got fits. Now I know what fits is, epilepsy. As a child with grandmothers, I could see my dog with suffering from fits. And the way it bit its tongue, and there was bleeding, and by the time we could call the doctor, we were all sweating it out, perspiring. But I could see my grandmother praying, silently putting the chair right there. So this happened time and again. So when it happened to my Sunday school child, I was worried, and I laid her on the floor, and then I found, I don't know, her right hand twitching. I thought, what is happening here? I didn't know what was happening. And I could get some papers, and I placed a pen. That, I believe, is the most awesome moment in my life, because it was in caps. The message, a whole page. There was one word, W, and then the next page, I, L, and the next page, LL. So God was saying, will you give me, your Lord, all the glory? That was a message coming through, and I could read. Oh, is it God speaking? I believed, but more was coming. More was coming. Your right hand was created for a purpose. It was the vision of a godly woman. I was struck down. This is God speaking. My God, give life to this child and help me understand what you're saying. And she got up after some time. And we prayed and read this again and again. And we realized, oh, God who wrote the Bible through the inspired people is writing to us today. I understood, because I knew the Bible through and through. And I knew this is God speaking, and I realized, yes, God is calling me. And we realized He's talking about my thesis. We read more, and it said, write on my mother. Stop following the blind guides. And I wept, I repented. My God, what am I doing? Why am I following the blind guides? Yes, why am I not writing on your mother? And give me the title, the heavenly maid. Write on my mother. The title of your thesis is the heavenly maid. Write on my mother. Write on my mother. He's calling from the cross. And I could not say no. I did not think of anything else about the consequences, how my parents would react. I didn't think of the consequences of how my authorities in college would think. I didn't think of the world at that moment. It was just me and God. Yes, it's quarantine time with God for me. I had to answer Him. I had to give Him the answer. Not negatively, positively. He had quarantined me in my youth through my deformity. I spent more time getting to know Him, and now He's asking me for self-quarantining. Yes. I said, yes, Lord, I'll do it. I'll be yours. Take me. I'm not worried about what people will talk about me, about what people say. No, I will not worry. Even if they may destroy my reputation, whatever it may be, I know you will pull me through. You'll see me through. And victory is yours. I'll write on this silent topic which whole humanity is guilty of. because sad to say, it is not a sentimental love about Mother Mary. No. It is a love that God has for humanity. You know, the name Jesus means God saves. It's His saving work. If He created this world, He will save that. And what is creation all about? Creation is all about the fall of man and the peak that it reaches to in the cross. The Roman crucifixion system to crucify and give the punishment, the worst kind of punishment, because it's not just simply death on the cross. It's torture. Every second, every drop comes down. There's torture of the limbs, the whole body is struggling. So that is also, the cross is also the climax of man's inhumanity, cruelty, injustice. The peak. So the peak, at the time of peak, God was raising Saint Anne, Saint Joachim, to prepare the way for Jesus coming, so He could take that ultimate sorrow, the ultimate shame, the ultimate death, the ultimate disgrace from humanity, and raise to life on the third day. Give us the victory. So God was taking all that in Jesus, preparing the way. That was a time when Mother Mary gave birth to Jesus, and history parted into AD and BC. You would believe AD is after death. No. AD is Anno Domini, and in Latin it means in the year of our Lord. Now 2020 years now since Jesus came. Is there justice for Jesus today? No. He died on the cross for good works, great works, for raising the dead. Is there justice for Him today? Is there anyone who believes in Him today? Oh, deeply enough to live and die for Him? No justice. We are waiting. Thanks to Corona, there is a realization now, beginning. Thanks to Corona, yes, life is terrible. You can see your loved one going, dragged by authorities and condemned to death in isolation. That is the horrifying moment we are living in. Anybody, anything can happen to anybody. So here we find God overcoming that. He overcame all that on the cross. And that is the message He has chosen us to spread His love for. Then it was the time to receive that message. And how do I believe it? How could I believe it? How could I take the risk? My hand, polio-stricken hand, was touched. I could feel the fingers growing, elongated. They were short and stumpy. And my students are a witness to my limp hand hanging like a dead thing. So here was my hand, fingers of my hand being elongated, and I felt strengthened in my hand. That I believe was a solid proof for me to get into this call and take it up seriously as He led us day by day through the messages. Thank you. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to Thee. How great Thou art, how great Thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to Thee. How great Thou art,